It did.
I think that I've now, at 63 years old, suddenly owned that it's not a bad thing to speak your voice.
There was like photos with her and Prince Andrew way back in the day when she was like in her early 20s.
It all went down just after midnight. That strange hour when Hollywood is drifting off, London is shaking off sleep, and the Royal Press Office is still half awake, and yet the internet was already going wild because Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York herself, had just done something nobody ever expected.
Time to sort of, in the old days I would have gone, oh shush, no, I'm not a rebel.
She dropped brand new, never before seen, unedited photos from Meghan Markle's rumoured yacht era with Prince Andrew, and the whole online world cracked open. And if the photos felt explosive, the timing hit like an aftershock because within minutes, social feeds were lighting up with hashtags. Podcasters were scrambling to hit go live. Royal reporters who promised themselves they were off duty were suddenly throwing on coats and racing back to studios. But the one person everyone was waiting to hear from, Meghan Markle, was nowhere in sight. Sources close to her Montecito circle hinted her silence wasn't calm or strategic. It was heartbreak. One insider whispered that Meghan was in tears, saying she didn't expect this at all, especially not from Fergie, and that shock alone made the whole situation blow up even more. Fergie and Meghan were never tight, not really, but there was always this quiet rule inside the royal bubble. Former duchesses do not go after each other. They don't cross wires, they don't dig up the past, and they definitely don't expose old chapters that were supposed to stay buried behind polite palace curtains. But Fergie tossed all of that aside with one strike. The first photo hit the internet like a loud snap. Meghan laughing on the deck of a Mediterranean yacht, breeze in her hair, big sunglasses, a drink in hand, surrounded by well-connected men the tabloids like to call the international elite, while Andrew stood nearby looking young, tanned, and surprisingly close to her. Then came the second photo, the one that sent everything spiraling because this time Meghan wasn't just mingling or posing for fun. She was standing right next to Andrew, leaning in, whispering something, her hand brushing his arm with a kind of familiarity that pushed social media detectives into instant overdrive. Some people said it looked harmless, others called the body language way too cozy, and a few even claimed it looked like something that needed answers. But the biggest question wasn't even about Meghan. It was about Fergie. Why now? Why her? And why post the photos herself instead of letting the tabloids do the dirty work? According to people in York family circles, Fergie had finally reached her limit. For years, she'd been tied to scandals connected to Andrew even when she wasn't part of them. She'd been judged for choices that weren't hers and compared again and again to every duchess who followed her, often with an unfair edge. But what really pushed her, insiders said, was watching Harry and Meghan present themselves as the royal world's ultimate victims, while skipping over parts of Meghan's own history in high society circles long before she ever crossed paths with Prince Harry. Fergie, the insider said, wanted people to see the whole picture, not just the parts Meghan polished. And she didn't drop the photos quietly either. She posted them with commentary, sharp, bold, and impossible to ignore. Her line, "Some memories should never be rewritten," shot across every corner of the royal internet like a spark hitting dry grass. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't polite, and it was definitely not the kind of elegant side-eye the palace usually prefers. It was Fergie with no filter, stepping into the ring like she meant every word. Within minutes, Meghan's name hit #1 trending in the UK, and less than 10 minutes later, it was blowing up in the US too. And the reactions, the whole internet split. One side defended Meghan, insisting the photos were ancient history, saying she was just a young actress networking the way people in Hollywood often do. The other side demanded answers, how she knew Andrew, what she was doing on that yacht, and why this whole chapter seemed to vanish from every interview, every documentary, and every speech she ever gave. But the loudest reaction wasn't online, it was Meghan herself. Inside her Montecito mansion, behind tall windows and taller hedges, Meghan was reportedly pacing around, furious, stressed, and devastated at the same time. She had worked for years to shape her story carefully, her rise, her journey, her identity, and in a matter of minutes, Fergie's post cracked that image apart. She felt blindsided, the insider said, adding that what hurt most was she couldn't respond without making the situation bigger. Meghan has always worked in two modes. either control the narrative or silence it. But neither option existed here because Fergie wasn't a tabloid or a gossip blogger or someone easy to dismiss. She was a duchess.
Sitting in front of you, did you tape
Absolutely, yes, and it was given to me.
A royal insider, a witness, someone with receipts, and those receipts were only starting to surface. Then things took an even darker twist because multiple sources started whispering that the photos Fergie posted weren't random leaks. They were part of a private archive she had kept for decades, an archive nobody even knew existed until now. And once those first images started spreading, rumours flew that Fergie had more, much more, that could reshape how people viewed Meghan's life before Harry. And if the chaos of that first night was any sign, Meghan knew it too. Behind the scenes, her team was scrambling, calling lawyers, calling PR experts, calling anyone who could help slow the spread while the internet held its breath, wondering what else might drop next. Fergie stayed quiet, steady, and absolutely unapologetic, and that silence hit louder than any statement could. One royal editor summed it up perfectly. You can try fighting the tabloids and you can try fighting the palace, but you cannot fight a duchess who's holding a grudge. And Fergie didn't just post a picture, she dropped a narrative bomb that shook royal hallways, rattled public opinion, and even made Buckingham Palace pause and whisper behind closed doors. Everyone wanted to know what would happen next, because this wasn't just about Meghan's past. It was about the Yorks, the Sussexes, the Windsors, the entire web of royal power suddenly colliding in ways nobody saw coming. But for Meghan, this was personal. And this was only round one because deep inside royal circles, one question was already spreading like wildfire. If Fergie released these, what else is she holding? The palace reacted with subtlety at first, barely noticeable, like a quiet shadow moving across Buckingham's walls. But beneath the polished exterior, a storm was forming fast. Advisors rushed through private channels, alerting senior aides, building drafts of responses, and reminding everyone of one truth the monarchy survives on. Protocol and discretion hit harder than any tabloid headline ever could. Every whisper that reached the press was filtered. Every leak studied, and every move from Meghan's team was tracked like a chess match. Meanwhile, Fergie didn't let up. Not for a second. The photos of Meghan, sun-soaked and carefree on a yacht with Andrew, kept coming in a slow, controlled stream. Each new image revealed just a little more, and each one dropped right when Meghan's team tried to calm the chaos. The palace refused to react publicly, but inside, they monitored every ripple with laser focus. Public opinion was shifting fast, and the images clashed with the polished narrative Meghan had worked so hard to build. The serene, charitable, refined image she continued to present. Instead, the pictures painted something different, a version of Meghan wrapped in indulgence and controversy, far from the dutiful royal persona she once tried to embody. Meghan's team went into overdrive. PR experts, media strategists, and lawyers were called non-stop. Every social platform was scanned for damage control. Draft after draft of statements were written, then rewritten again and again. Too defensive looked like guilt. Too short looked dismissive. Too polished looked rehearsed. Every version walked a tight line between explaining and deflecting. One wrong vowel could make everything worse. Sensing the panic, Fergie doubled down without hesitation. More images dropped, each timed perfectly to interrupt whatever response Meghan's camp was preparing. One picture showed Meghan laughing with Andrew. Another captured a quiet, elegant moment that carried enough suggestion to dominate headlines for hours. Online commentators exploded. Influencers and analysts dissected every pixel, every angle, every shadow. The palace stayed silent but watched everything unfold. Inside Meghan's circle, arguments broke out. Should they speak or stay quiet?
And publicly apologised for taking abusers' cash and vowed to cut ties.
Some advisors pushed for a statement highlighting Meghan's charity work to shift the narrative. Others insisted silence was safer, arguing any comment would only fuel the fire. Meghan herself was reportedly in tears, swinging between anger, fear, and disbelief as she watched the images spread everywhere. Sources said she felt completely blindsided and believed the photos were dropped with one purpose: to damage her reputation. Meanwhile, Fergie executed her strategy flawlessly. Known for bold moves and sharp media instincts,
Epstein, and King Charles has very much been dragged into this. The King has been heckled during an official...
She kept the story alive day after day. The palace communications office, usually shielded by tradition and protocol, was suddenly forced to respond to reporters, repeating phrases like "no comment on private lives," "respect for privacy," and "focus on ongoing charitable work." But those same lines only highlighted the gravity of the moment. Online, the reaction was instant and intense. Clips of Meghan laughing on the yacht, paired with the luxury backdrop, were reposted everywhere. Analysts pointed out the massive gap between Meghan's public image of restraint and compassion and the carefree, lavish moments captured in those photos. A new narrative formed quickly. Meghan had painstakingly curated an image, and now the photos were cracking that image open. The palace, always alert to public sentiment, recognized the risk instantly. Once public trust slips, even symbolic institutions can feel the shock. Fergie didn't just release images. She pushed people to question, analyze, and speculate. Each photo carried subtle visual cues: Meghan's relaxed posture, the comfort in her interactions with Andrew, the unguarded expressions, all served as fuel for discussions across newsrooms, podcasts, and social feeds. Photographers and commentators broke down her body language, her smile, even the angle of her hat. Every tiny detail became ammunition for endless debates, and the internet thrived on the frenzy. In response, Meghan's advisors built a three-tier strategy to survive the storm. First, internal review, cataloguing every image, rumour, and headline to assess potential threats. Second, external influence, quietly briefing friendly outlets to steer public focus back toward Meghan's charity and humanitarian work. Third, public response preparation, drafting statements over and over, each version tested for legal safety, media durability, and public perception. Meanwhile, the palace moved with careful precision behind the scenes. No public confrontations, no dramatic statements, only discreet conversations with top media figures and key social players. Trusted aides reached out to gauge reactions and provide context where needed, ensuring the royal family's broader image stayed intact. Advisors highlighted ongoing initiatives by William, Catherine, and others, subtly shifting the spotlight without ever acknowledging the controversy directly. A classic palace tactic designed to guide the public eye without appearing to interfere. The strategy was locked in tight, let the chaos rage outside while the institution stood untouched inside. Meanwhile, Meghan's emotions were reportedly all over the place, swinging from shock to frustration in a heartbeat. Sources claimed she felt both betrayed and exposed, convinced those yacht photos were part of a deliberate hit meant to shake her credibility. Advisors watching the mess unfold said the real pressure came from social media blowing everything out of proportion. Every gesture, every tiny expression, every angle was suddenly being analysed by strangers who acted like detectives. The idea that private moments could be twisted into claims of public misbehaviour struck straight at the identity she had spent years building through PR teams, branding experts, and media strategy. Fergie, fully aware of the tension, kept dropping her releases with precision. Each new photo came with carefully chosen commentary that highlighted the clash between Meghan's polished image and the unfiltered moments caught on that yacht. The impact was instant. Headlines exploded into outrage, debate, and non-stop satire. Online debates turned into digital street fights, generating massive engagement while commentators speculated about what this would mean for Meghan's public life and her relationship with Harry. Inside palace walls, things stayed quiet but sharp. Internal memos reminded staff of protocol, professionalism, and keeping the monarchy's dignity sealed tight. The message behind every memo was clear: scandals come and go, but the monarchy survives as long as the response stays measured. Palace insiders believed action would only be needed if the situation grew so big that it started touching matters of governance or constitutional importance. Still, Meghan's team was scrambling non-stop. Crisis plans were drafted, edited, abandoned, then revived again as more photos surfaced. Legal advisors started evaluating the possibility of going after the people responsible for the unauthorized images, but they warned that attacking too aggressively could backfire and draw even more attention. PR strategists debated whether a controlled statement would help or hurt, carefully tweaking every word to avoid misinterpretation. By this point, it had become a high-stakes battle over perception. Fergie managed to spin private, carefree moments into a public story that shaped opinions instantly. Meghan's advisors fought to contain the storm without accidentally inflaming it, while the palace kept its calm exterior, projecting stability even as the media frenzy grew louder. Meghan's private moments were being judged brutally, challenging the image she had built, while Fergie's timed drops kept the story alive and impossible to ignore. And behind everything, the monarchy remained silent and immovable, determined to protect its reputation from getting dragged into personal disputes. As weeks passed, the frenzy only grew. Analysts dissected every photo, every comment, every moment of silence from Meghan's camp. Social media turned it into a circus of memes, commentary, and wild theories. Public perception shifted constantly, depending on who posted what, with Fergie's slow drip strategy shaping the narrative as much as Meghan's reactions did. Inside the palace, it was a waiting game. Advisors believed patience and silence were the strongest tools they had, and they weren't going to break that posture unless absolutely necessary. Meanwhile, Meghan's team was starting to face the hard truth. The media landscape could turn even the smallest misstep into global conversation. Fergie kept the pressure steady, releasing occasional new pieces of context that kept attention glued to the gap between Meghan's image and the reality her critics wanted people to see. It wasn't just about a few photos anymore. It had become a full lesson in perception, media manipulation, and the dangerous balance between personal branding and institutional power. And in the middle of all of it stood Meghan, caught in a storm she didn't see coming and couldn't fully control. Fergie and the palace played the long game with expert precision, letting each photo, each headline, and each silent move shift public understanding bit by bit. Questions grew louder. Could Meghan still grab control of the narrative? Or had Fergie, backed by the quiet watch of the monarchy, already set the entire story before Meghan even reacted? By the time more weeks rolled through, Meghan's world felt like a powder keg. Every new post or rumour felt like it could spark another explosion. The palace stayed outwardly serene, issuing neutral statements focused on dignity and consistency, never touching the scandal itself. But behind closed doors, the machinery was moving non-stop. Every new photo was examined with forensic attention, ready for potential fallout that could affect the institution itself. Meghan's own camp, however, was cracking under the pressure. Insiders described tense meetings where strategies clashed hard. Some wanted to fight back loudly, others argued silence was the only smart move. Sources said Meghan was exhausted, swinging between anger and deep frustration. Those yacht pictures, meant as harmless private downtime, now stood as a full-blown PR nightmare, amplified by social platforms, news outlets, and celebrity commentary. Fergie saw the panic and turned up the pressure with even more timed drops. The images were damaging enough, but she paired them with teasing captions, hints of exclusivity, and suggestive remarks that made people speculate without her ever saying anything directly. The public devoured every update, sharing, theorizing, laughing, arguing, while Meghan's team tried to respond without falling into another trap. Every new post from Fergie felt like a setup. If Meghan's team defended too hard, people would assume guilt. If they brushed it off, they'd look arrogant. The frenzy kept growing as Meghan's legal and PR team launched a multi-layered strategy, even hiring well-known consultants to build a narrative shield around her work, her projects, and her advocacy. Social media managers went into overdrive, flooding feeds with staged shots of Meghan at charity events, school visits, and global forums, all meant to overshadow the yacht photos. But no matter what they tried, public attention refused to shift. Headlines splintered between outrage, moral debate, and fascination with the private life of someone who had once walked palace corridors. The palace stayed calm, patient, and invisible. No public reprimands, no official statements, just a quiet network of advisors making sure the monarchy's image stayed untouchable. Charity openings, hospital visits, ceremonial appearances, every move was calculated to subtly pull attention toward ongoing royal work, keeping the institution's authority front and centre. The goal was crystal clear: let Meghan storm rage while the monarchy stayed unshaken. But inside Meghan's camp, panic was bubbling. Every photo Fergie released seemed crafted to suggest she was calculating, opportunistic, maybe even manipulative. A sharp contrast to the carefully polished image of empathy, humility, and compassion Meghan had worked years to create. Every tweet, article, and comment acted like fuel to the fire, intensifying the public frenzy in unpredictable ways. Fergie's strategy was surgical. She timed releases for peak news cycles and synced them with celebrity chatter, keeping Meghan constantly on the defensive. Analysts called it masterful. Drip-feeding details allowed the media to reconstruct and reinterpret events continuously, never letting the story die. Meanwhile, Meghan's advisors debated countermeasures. Legal action against photographers and media outlets was floated but quickly rejected. Any lawsuit could backfire, drawing attention to the very images they hoped to suppress, and risked painting Meghan as vindictive. Bad optics in a media storm. Instead, the team focused on subtle narrative tweaks, curated interviews, selective appearances, and imagery emphasizing philanthropy and maternal devotion. Still, the public wouldn't let go. Social media users dissected every frame, argued over context and tone, and memes exploded. Some playful, some cutting, some mercilessly dismissive. Each day brought fresh waves of scrutiny, and Meghan's carefully maintained composure seemed harder and harder to hold. The palace, meanwhile, stayed in the background, reinforcing its narrative infrastructure. Advisors coordinated with media partners to redirect attention toward ongoing royal initiatives, charity work, ceremonial events, public engagements. There was no direct acknowledgement of Meghan's scandal. The royal family allowed its usual rhythm to signal stability and enduring authority. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. Meghan's chaos played out publicly, while the monarchy maintained serene composure, a subtle reminder that personal scandals might flare, but the institution remains unshaken. Weeks passed, and Meghan's PR team became increasingly desperate. Every statement, appearance, and social media post was analysed for potential missteps. Pressure mounted, and sources claimed Meghan's emotions oscillated between despair, frustration, and outright anger. Yet Fergie's drip-feed approach continued dominating headlines, keeping Meghan in a constant state of crisis. A turning point emerged as a few journalists began questioning the broader significance of Fergie's releases. What did they reveal about Meghan's decision-making, private relationships, and long-term strategy for influence? Analysts pointed out that the scandal was no longer about yacht photos. It had become a masterclass in ambition, strategy, and the clash between personal branding and public expectation. The story transcended gossip, becoming cultural commentary on power, perception, and the delicate balance of personal ambition within a centuries-old institution. Meghan's team realized that any misstep could be amplified exponentially. The challenge wasn't just managing a scandal, it was managing a narrative that had grown a life of its own, shaped by images, social media, celebrity commentary, and public obsession. Every day required careful calculation, but even meticulous planning couldn't predict the storm's next wave. By now, the pattern was clear. Fergie had seized control of the story's tempo. Meghan's team moved defensively, while the palace remained the silent, unshakable observer. Public opinion was volatile, influenced as much by gossip as by facts. Every image, tweet, and comment had the potential to reshape the narrative. And the stakes were higher than ever. Meghan's carefully polished, compassionate, and philanthropic image now faced relentless public scrutiny. Every photograph, every anecdote, every reference to her yacht days with Andrew became headline fodder for millions. Social media exploded with hashtags, memes, and commentary, each one reinforcing the narrative that Meghan had mismanaged her private and public life. The delicate balance between personal freedom and royal expectation became a topic of endless debate. Outrage and curiosity fueled the public's fascination. Editorials questioned whether someone with royal visibility could indulge in private leisure while maintaining the responsibilities of her position. Late-night hosts dissected her wardrobe, expressions, and body language, turning every detail into commentary on character and morality. Even casual observers who once admired her charitable work now debated whether private indulgences aligned with her public duties. Meghan's PR machine went into overdrive, every tweet vetted, every public appearance rehearsed, every image curated to counter the narrative with empathy, dedication, and humility. Social media channels flooded with positive portrayals of her charitable efforts, public advocacy, and maternal devotion. But despite these measures, the tide of public fascination with the yacht photos seemed unstoppable. Each strategic post was met with a flood of comments, memes, and critiques, often circling back to the scandal itself. Inside her team, tension reached a boiling point. Advisors debated every potential strategy: confront the story head-on, issue a formal statement, or continue to lean into silence. Some argued for a total media blackout to let the story die naturally. Others insisted on carefully orchestrated media appearances to assert control over the narrative. Each approach carried risk. Any misstep could exacerbate the public perception that Meghan was manipulative, evasive, or untruthful. The balance was razor-thin, and even minor errors could ignite new waves of scrutiny. Meanwhile, Fergie remained a shadowy, ever-present force in the background. Her strategy had been flawless: drip-feed the yacht images at precise intervals, pairing them with subtle commentary that encouraged speculation while avoiding outright accusation. The genius of her approach lay in its timing and restraint. By never revealing everything at once, she ensured the story remained a living, breathing narrative, continuously evolving with public reaction. Each release created waves of discourse that Meghan's PR team struggled to contain. The palace, in contrast, moved with quiet efficiency mastered over centuries. Advisors coordinated subtle interventions designed to stabilize public perception without appearing reactive. Royal engagements were highlighted, charitable initiatives amplified, and statements of duty and service circulated strategically through trusted media channels. The contrast between Meghan's visible distress and the calm, measured actions of the monarchy served to reinforce the enduring authority and poise of the institution. Public reaction became increasingly polarized. Some sympathized with Meghan, framing the story as an invasion of privacy and a misrepresentation of her character. Others seized on the narrative of indulgence, positioning her actions as evidence of entitlement and ambition. Talk shows, podcasts, and online forums dissected every nuance, fueling a feedback loop of analysis, judgment, and speculation. The scandal had transcended gossip, becoming a cultural moment, a lens through which discussions of privilege, accountability, and personal ambition were magnified. Inside Meghan's team, fatigue and frustration were palpable. Sources described long nights of crisis management, monitoring social media trends, drafting talking points, preparing for hypothetical interviews. Legal consultants weighed the potential for litigation, balancing the need to act against the risk of drawing more attention. Even minor missteps carried enormous consequences. An ill-timed statement, a perceived tone, a dismissive comment, or a social media post that failed to resonate could spiral into a full-blown scandal. The pressure on Meghan to perform both publicly and strategically had reached unprecedented levels. What had started as embarrassment had escalated into a full-scale public crisis, affecting reputation, relationships, and professional influence. The palace continued its silent orchestration, while Meghan's team flailed against the visible storm. Advisors ensured the monarchy's long-term narrative remained untainted. Charitable events were highlighted, speeches and initiatives promoted, and media narratives gently redirected. By projecting continuity and responsibility, the monarchy maintained authority while allowing Meghan's situation to burn itself out under public scrutiny. The implicit lesson was unmistakable. Private scandal could rage, but the monarchy endured. Weeks turned into months. The public's appetite for the story showed no signs of abating. Each new analysis, whether critical or sympathetic, reinforced the central narrative. Meghan had miscalculated the delicate balance between personal freedom and public expectation. The images of yacht leisure, once trivial, had become symbols of ambition, entitlement, and the tensions inherent in her dual existence as both a private citizen and a former royal. In response, Meghan's team continued meticulous management, emphasizing messages of compassion, philanthropy, and global influence. Carefully staged interviews and public appearances highlighted her commitment to charitable causes, while strategic social media engagement aimed to shift focus away from the scandal. Yet the media cycle, relentless and unforgiving, kept the yacht images at the forefront of public consciousness. The psychological toll on Meghan was increasingly apparent. Sources described heightened anxiety with each new media release, triggering acute stress and uncertainty. Advisors worked tirelessly to shield her from the worst of public scrutiny. Yet the scale of attention made complete insulation impossible. Every move, every gesture, every carefully planned public appearance was scrutinized for inconsistencies, tone, and implication. Meanwhile, Fergie's strategic precision remained unchallenged. By maintaining control over the timing and framing of each new revelation, she ensured Meghan remained on the defensive. Every potential counter-narrative was anticipated, neutralized, or preempted through subtle reinforcement of the scandal. The yacht images, already iconic in their own right, became a lasting symbol of misjudgment in the court of public opinion. As the story drew toward its climax, one truth became unavoidable. Meghan's PR machinery, no matter how sophisticated, was locked in a losing battle against a story carefully curated and perpetuated by outside forces. The palace, ever patient, observed with quiet calculation, allowing the storm to rage while maintaining institutional dignity and public focus. The relentless nature of the narrative ensured it remained unresolved, drawing Meghan back into scrutiny, forcing her to navigate a landscape where personal ambition collided with centuries of expectation and tradition. The ultimate lesson crystallized in the realm of public perception. Careful planning could mitigate damage, but never fully control the narrative. Even the most influential figures were subject to forces far beyond their immediate control. Meghan's journey through scandal, strategy, and public scrutiny had entered a new phase, one defined not just by images or headlines, but by the intricate interplay of ambition, power, and perception on a global stage. And so, the story endured. A cautionary tale of ambition, visibility, and vulnerability under the public gaze. If you've been following this dramatic saga and want to stay on top of every twist, revelation, and royal maneuver, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Every click ensures you never miss a moment of this unfolding royal drama.